What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp. Look at him getting caught drinking on the job. Look at that. We're just a couple of broken men right here. Will Washington, Sean Ross Sapp. You know what? Well, we're both alive, and that's all you can ask for sometimes.
That's all I can ask for today. This is a day for me to just be grateful for that kind of stuff. And plus there's a lot to talk about. So
there is.
That's what I do best is babble. So
and fortunately for both of us, Jimmy didn't show up to work today per usual. We're gonna chalk it up to the explosive diarrheas per usual. That's never happened to me. I almost died from COVID last Wednesday. That's why I don't show up to work. And I still came to work last Wednesday. But Jimmy's not here. But fortunately for me, that means we get to hang out with you today. And we're talking about what you guys want to talk about. And not only that, we're doing that all the time on Fightful Select because Ask Grapsity is on Fightful Select every couple of weeks. Y'all doing tomorrow as well?
Phil and Reg are. So tomorrow, I'll be there for part of it, but I have to chaperone my daughter's first middle school dance tomorrow afternoon. And so therefore, look, I have to be there for the embarrassment. When I first told her that I had this idea, she was like, her eyes got so big and she's like, Dad, and she's come around on it now. And, I think it's going to be fun. Look, this is middle school. Middle school is 3 years, right? 6th, 7th, and 8th. Think about the fact that there's been a pandemic nearly 3 years now. This is these kids' first middle school dance in 3 years. This is the first time they're allowing these kids to have this again. So.
I was not let down when I scrolled down that post and saw all the Will Smith bad boys. Like immediately, I was like, you know what's happening. It's gonna be there.
Yes.
But guys, we're here to talk about what you guys want to talk about. This is the What Do You Guys Want to Talk About show. I'll be back on Select with a Q&A this week. Again, I was down and out from COVID last week, but you did get Ask Grapsity. You're getting it again this week. I also posted some exclusive content. We had Making a Finisher, Duke the Dumpster Drosy, which I know you guys were just aching to see. You all were just dying to find out how the trash compactor existed. I'm posting Rhino, Making a Finisher, The Gore on Fightful Select this week, and a pretty hilarious video in hindsight where I react to a Joe Holbert, Jeremy Lambert draft video that I had no idea. I thought they were drafting against each other. They were drafting together, so I buried them anyway. That was left in the archives for a very long time. But FightfulSelect.com gives you Q&As every single week, not just from me, not just from Grapsity. Jimmy does them sometimes as well. But a good way to get your question or statement read on the air at all times, but especially today, donate your super chats, donate your humper chats. YouTube's been affecting our algorithm a little bit. We're overcoming it. You guys are donating an awful lot to Alex and Kate to read off puns. And for that, I both feel bad for you and thank you. But Lord Zypher says, any plans for either of you to be at Revolution? As of right now, I'm a no on that, but we'll see how it goes. It all depends to me on exclusive content and who we have there. Now we do not have exclusive access to media scrums anymore. Will is usually there. He'll live stream them, but we don't have like exclusive interview access there. So for me, it makes more sense if we have a team of people on the scene already for me to be at home doing the post show. Will, what are your thoughts? That's less of a trip for you than it is for me.
I was planning on it. We'll see. That it all depends, but it was definitely in the plans as of yesterday.
We'll see how things work out. Will always does great work there, though. And Caden says, 1 hour left from my Florida to Texas drive. This sucks. I would not make that drive. I didn't even make the drive to Winston-Salem. I said, you know what? I'm going to fly to Charlotte and drive from there, and I don't regret that whatsoever. So I'm just not doing that. Plus, my vehicle gets about a good 3 miles a gallon. So, Meet Norma says, "What's good, fellas? My vote is Jade for Gear of the Year. In out of the ring, she's killing it from a cosplay to a Hawks Game 7. So, this is an easy plug, Will. Something you and I care an awful lot about. The Fightful Awards. The voting is now open on Fightful Select. I'm doing about 2 topics a day. Today's is one that I thought would be kind of cool to group together. It is best wrestling book, comic, art, or video game. And I'm sure as that expands, that award will expand. But right now, that one's up. We've got the U20 award, which is best wrestler under 20 years old. We got rookie of the year. We have finisher of the year up. This is exclusive to Fightful Select subscribers. It is not me and Will and Denise deciding who's going to win these, even though we are absolutely going to get blamed for it, Will.
Oh, of course. No matter what, when we present it, that's exactly how it's going to go. It's going to be, Fightful. Well, they love these guys. And yeah, that's exactly how it goes. It's okay. Prepared for it. Been doing award shows for, God, this will be my 18th.
So I have it. You're the veteran. I'm not.
Yes.
So what I'm going to do is just ignore all that. I'm not known for ignoring things on social media, and I am very excited to ignore that. But I think this is something fun for our audience, especially, and we will get to see like how our audience skews and how they tend to vote. There was already, I mean, there's already one, the U20, the runaway in that one kind of surprised me how that one's looking so far. But Go ahead. Offer your thoughts.
I mean, because I was gonna say, because we also have best celebrity cameo up. That one, I think, I guess it's not surprising to me. You know, I will say that your boy is in camp Johnny Knoxville.
Me too.
But
Me too. But I don't think I ever enjoyed a wrestling match as much as I might have enjoyed that match. That one, like from just a pure like hanging out with my friends perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that came over to my house for WrestleMania knew exactly who Johnny Knoxville was. And we all had a fucking hoot watching that match.
I mean, honestly, being at the Rumble, the pop that the opening notes to the Jackass theme got, like none of the other themes are getting reactions at this point. Everybody's like, oh, whose theme is this? Whose theme is that? But as soon as you hear that Jackass opening 3 notes, it was like, the place went bananas. So I don't
buddy,
know.
that was a rare thumbs up on that show, because it was like that show got some sources for me. There were so many people that were so pissed off with their WWE booking around then that there were people that are like, I'm just finally going to talk to this guy. I'm just finally going to give it up and talk to him. So I mean, that was one of those things where there was some like respectful jealousy among those that I spoke to. They're like, fucking Johnny Knoxville's getting better reactions than our top guys. And they didn't know if that was a byproduct of terrible booking or just because the guy's perpetually over. I think it was a combination of both of them. But boy, that was, I had almost forgotten that he had done the Royal Rumble spot. But again, this is why I look at things, and I look at a topic like we one of the categories is Performer of the Year, which is different from In-Ring Wrestler of the Year. And I'm like, is Sami Zayn going to run away with this? Like with the hot streak that he's on after doing what he did with Sami Zayn and doing what he's done with the Bloodline, is he going to run away with that award for us?
I don't know. It's going to be really interesting because I don't think, like, just watching the way it's all been going, I don't think it skews toward one company, because I know that that's a thing that people kind of look at for these awards. And, you know, when the Observer Awards come out every year, they're like, oh, it skews AEW. But so far, it's looked like things are going pretty much any direction that seems most feasible and most reasonable. I'm excited for this. I'm excited to present this. I've got some cool ideas for how it's going to be presented. But yeah, it's me, Sean, and Denise. Looking forward to it. If you're not subscribed, FightfulSelect.com to get your vote in. Or if you are subscribed and just haven't voted yet, get those votes in.
Yeah, it's going to be ongoing for the next couple of weeks. And I'm going to do 2 a day. I'm very, very excited for this, guys. Very excited. We wanted to bring something positive, too. These are all positive awards, all like highlights of the year. And
no worse. I'm past worse. I
don't want to do
hate
that.
Those. Yeah.
All due respect, you know, to the people who do those awards. It's just not what we want to do. KE775 says, do you think Saturday is Alba Fire's final NXT appearance? Well, I'm going to have a little bit of an update on some of the methods of NXT call-ups on Fightful Select this week. Subscribe, $5. But I mean, this is going to be probably a significant point for NXT in deciding like the method of those call-ups, Will, because in the past with Vince McMahon, sometimes you would just see a big bunch of them called up. I think under Triple H, you're probably going to see a more steady stream, and it's going to be called up more as needed than giant clusters.
And I have a feeling we'll probably see a little more coordination with it. We're not going to get like those Keith Lee type situations where, hey, we just made him a dual champion and now, sorry, he's being called up to the main roster. Yeah. Bye. I have a feeling we won't see a whole lot of that, or like what they did with even Aleister Black and Ricochet, where all of a sudden in the middle of them being used in NXT television, they're called up to the main roster. I think there's going to be a little more coordination. Yes. But I'm interested in what you end up reporting on that, because, I mean, there isn't a formula right now. We haven't really seen, other than maybe Solo Sikoa, there hasn't really been anybody out of the modern NXT that's been pulled to the main roster. I'm interested in how that ends up shaking out.
And he was one that Vince McMahon had considered bringing up before. Did I ever tell you the fable of the Riddle story and how he got called up?
No.
Okay, so this has not been confirmed. I know a lot of people think like, oh, I talk to Riddle all the time because we did a show. I've not talked to Riddle in like 4 years. Like I've not spoken to him since the congrats for the WWE signing thing. The word that I got was after the Brock Lesnar interaction backstage, Vince McMahon got word of it. Now, I am always going to be of the belief that Paul Heyman is an evil genius, and he got in Brock's ear, and he's like, guess who's been talking shit about you, Brock? Because I think that Paul Heyman looked at it and said, I can make money with those two against each other in the ring, and he knows better than anybody what motivates Brock. And then also, there's, the Goldberg stuff. So what I had heard, and again, this has been like a story that had circulated, was that Vince called in Matt Riddle for a meeting and was like, buddy, you got some heat, and you got some heat with some pretty big guys. What are you going to do to fix it? And that Riddle was kind of like, I'm sorry, I thought you liked making money type of thing to Vince McMahon. And he's like, aren't you concerned about what might happen? He's like, aren't you concerned about what might happen to them if they try something? And I guess Vince loved it. And again, that's not verbatim, but from what I understood, that's the story that got relayed. And that wasn't like a Riddle saying this to people story, because honestly, for that guy, that's just his lifestyle. That's just how he lives. He fought people for a living for a long time. And from what I understand, Vince was like, Triple H, do whatever you got to do to get these titles off of this guy, because he's coming up, and he's coming up to the main roster, and he's the guy that I want. Maybe he's not facing Brock or Goldberg, but this is the kind of guy I want up. And I was like, okay, for all, a lot of people think that he's a dumb guy. I negotiated with that guy. Me and Jimmy did. And he is a very savvy person. Like he understands like the thing to say in that situation. But that was one that always like stood out to me. And his call up, that meeting, it affected Stokely. It affected Indus Sher. It affected Pete Dunne, Timothy Thatcher, another team in NXT. It affected plans. It started a domino effect for an awful lot of people during that period. But yeah,
so I hope with Hunter and Sean being a little more in cahoots with each other, that there's not going to be a whole lot of those type of domino effect situations where, hey, we're just taking your guy, figure out the title situation.
Sure. KE775 says, what are your predictions for Deadline on Saturday? So full disclosure, I do not have a prediction show set up for either one of these, but Rob and Maggie on Coexisting with Rob and Maggie have been doing an incredible job, because honestly, our feed has been so filled up with, we got Wrestling Perspective and like we'll have Day After Dynamite and Spotlight, and then an interview or two late in the week, that Rob and Maggie have really stepped up and done that very well for Fightful Overbooked. So I want to thank them. They are also on Coexisting After Dark on Fightful Select. But we'll go ahead and make some picks for Deadline. We got Alba Fire, Isla Dawn. I think Isla Dawn's probably winning that one. I got them. Or got her.
I mean, it depends. Like, is this the time to end Mandy Rose's reign, or is this just like another challenger in her ever-growing reign of dominance? Because that changes my answer depending on
Sure.
how that's going to go. I don't know if this is the time to end her reign, and if it's not, then I feel like you can kind of test the waters with somebody like an Isla Dawn.
Speaking of testing the waters, Braun Breaker and Apollo Crews tested the waters last night and went fishing. I have always thought that Apollo Crews would be such a good, like, fake nice guy character. Like, he's complimenting you to your face, but you don't know. You know what I mean? Like one of those, because he's got that big smile and he seems like such a nice guy. And, like, I would love it if he's like, man, I think it's really impressive what you've been able to do given so little. Like, I think he would be great like that. He's like, it's amazing what you're able to accomplish with such little athleticism. Like, I'm really impressed by that. I think he'd be great at that. But Braun Breaker, I feel like, is winning this. But Apollo Crews going to NXT has just been objectively good for him because he's on TV.
I mean, again, it's a case of, is Braun Breaker's time, like, what are we looking at as far as his time is concerned? You know, he was on Raw earlier this year, didn't really get much of a reaction, and I think that probably kind of told them he probably needs to sit in the oven a little bit longer. And also, I think that the person to end Braun Breaker's reign, like, officially, not like a Dolph Ziggler type thing, probably should come out of the Iron Survivor Challenge. Somebody like to me, a Carmelo Hayes. And in that sense, I think he retains.
Carmelo Hayes is who I'm also picking there. I'm interviewing him Thursday. That will be up early for Fightful Select subscribers, Tier 2 members. Also, we'll have early notes. We have early notes with Angelina Love and Psycho Boy Fodder up there as well. We've just got so much interview content. Danny Limelight coming very, very soon. And let me tell you, I talked to him around the time he left AEW. I thought there was some real good accountability there for him. That's going to be a good interview for you guys to listen to. The other Iron Survivor Challenge, we broke the news of this match on FightfulSelect.com. What about the women's side of things? I mean, you mentioned Carmelo Hayes. That's who I think is winning there as well. I think it's time for Indy to come up. Like, I think that they should probably bring her up and she should team with Candice at this point. But I'll just throw it out there and say, like, Maybe Roxanne again, but I don't know. I have no idea the direction here.
Roxanne's, I think, a solid pick in terms of, like, last night they did the video packages for everybody in the match, and she definitely had the most convincing one in the sense of the first time around. I came off like this was my dream, but now that I'm past that, now that I have achieved the dream, now it's time to go after some goals, and it seemed like they're going for a more serious Roxanne Perez.
Cora Jade told me she texted Roxanne Perez the day that they announced the ROH hiatus, and she is like, let's get you in here. And in the meantime, Roxanne worked ROH, Impact, and AEW during that period. So she got her shit in, and I respect that a lot.
Yeah. I think Roxanne's a good pick.
I think New Day are winning the NXT tag titles.
I do too, and that kind of makes me sad. And
really?
I'll tell you why, folks. The New Day, my favorite act ever.
Yeah.
I think there's literally, it's the only person I've ever dressed up as going to a wrestling show is when me and my boys went dressed as the New Day. I was Xavier Woods. But my favorite act probably ever in pro wrestling. I have this feeling that after that feud with the Usos just recently, the little mini feud they did over the Usos getting the tag title record. After the Usos won that, I couldn't shake this feeling that the New Day feels washed. And I hate that feeling because I think there's so much more you could do with them that I don't like the feeling of them seeming washed. Then when they showed up on NXT last night, I thought maybe it would help shake that feeling, but I feel like it's almost like a lose-lose. If they lose the tag titles, if they lose that match, it's pretty deadly. They are absolutely going to feel washed.
Yes.
And if they win, then it almost feels like a consolation prize for a team that's washed. And I can't shake this feeling that either way they go, like the New Day, I don't know.
Losing Big E did hurt them an awful lot.
It did.
It did. And I mean, I love all three of those guys, but he was like the heart and soul of what New Day still was. And it feels like even in their work there, they've got like that chip on their shoulder. Like,
oh yeah.
Like we know that we've lost that, but I mean, they're also both so supremely talented. Like I don't mind seeing them pop up on NXT because I can tell you, I don't have a great amount of interest in NXT in general. More so now than I did about 5 months ago, but this type of thing is going to continue. By the way, we're going to keep seeing main roster talent as well.
I think my only thing with that, all of that, is because I agree with you. I think losing Big E was a bigger deal than I think we thought it was going to be, especially now, because I can't think of a better time than now that they could use Big E. As you know, you talk about AEW trios, but WWE has had trios nonstop, right? We've had
Yes.
They've got the Brawling Brutes, they've got the OC, and like to think about the fact that the New Day as a complete trio would actually have more to do than they've ever had to do as a trio right now, and they don't have that. I think that's what burns the most.
I've had people say, oh, what could WWE introduce trios titles? If they do, I think you keep the tag titles combined and then do trios titles. And you look at things, Imperium, Legado del Fantasma. It would be very easy to add someone to Los Lotharios or combine them with Maximum Male Models as they've done now, because I think they would fit really well. New Day, assuming Big E gets healthy again. The Bloodline is there. The OC, Judgment Day. Like there are options for that. But I also think that some of those titles should be floating titles as well. But yeah, we'll see. Joseph Correa with a very important question. Shout out to SRS and Will. Two of the very best in the business today. Do you think Denise will have to take a big fat shit while she's on the NXT pre-show? Yes, but will she do it? I don't know. I'll say this for Denise. She at least keeps it very professional. I am legitimately very happy for her. It was difficult to not spoil her own news for her just to do it. But I am so fucking proud of Denise. She puts in the work. There are so many people that say that they want to do the type of thing that Denise does, but there are very few people that want to make the sacrifices and put in the work. And the social sacrifices, the relationship sacrifices that she does, yes, she's going to have to take a big fat shit. To answer the question. Your thoughts, Will?
You got me. No, I'm really proud of Denise. Like, dead serious. I also... I think the worst thing I could have done was the tweet I had about it was in my drafts all day. And the worst thing I could have done is like accidentally hit tweet instead of save to drafts, and just spoiled all of it. But no, I'm really proud of her. And I think it is a really cool thing that that her voice is seen as authoritative in the industry. The fact that, when they made the announcement on NXT last night, the way they were just like Denise Salcedo of Instinct Culture, and it's like, hey, that's her YouTube channel, and hey, I'm on that. So it's like, hey, that's kind of a plug for after the week.
She's going to inspire a whole lot of women that they didn't think that this was an option or a line of work that they could get into, and her method is always just like, shut the fuck up and do the work. Just do the work. And do good work, and eventually it'll if you're good at it, there you go. Dan says, Sean, first time Humper Chat. By the way, guys, you can get in Humper Chats at humperchats.com. Some of you go, what the hell is that? Well, it allows you to leave your question or statement before we go on the air. And Dan says, first time Humper Chat, random question, but the AEW cameraman by the ring steps, they always seem to have him in all black, fully masked. Do you know if this is intentionally done? It is intentionally done. It's not a character thing. He's built like a wrestler. I mean, I had people that told me he was Mata from Tough Enough at one point, and I was like, that ain't him, buddy. He's just a cameraman. Whenever, he got mistaken for Claudio an awful lot. People were messaging me like, that's him. But it's not. He just wants to be around there and be sort of anonymous. And you know what? If you want to sit around and be anonymous while you're browsing the interwebs, you're browsing whatever it is that you're on, check out NordVPN.com/Fightful, which I do not have. Oh, yes, I do have a graphic for right here. Is it the current one? It is. 4 additional months free on the fastest VPN in the world, nordvpn.com/Fightful. Boy, let me tell you, over the last couple of weeks, this has helped me. I went to Winston-Salem. I was on hotel Wi-Fi, convention Wi-Fi, and airport Wi-Fi. And then, of course, restaurants that I was at. And you don't want to do that. You want to protect yourself from online trackers, annoying pop-up ads, and malware. That's what NordVPN.com does. In addition to that, when you get this great deal with NordVPN, you get 4 additional months free. If for some reason you don't like it, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. But I got to watch some documentaries last week, some WWE documentaries that I'd missed out on. I don't like dealing with the Peacock interface. So I have WWE Network overseas. I'm able to use that interface as I like it. It's a good time, and it worked on all my devices. So while I was laid out, I had that set up on my router, and it just went through. It protected everything in my house. But then individually, when I leave, it's on my phone. It's on my Surface Pro. It's on everything. NordVPN.com/Fightful. Not only that, man, I don't have the hoodie up here. I just took it off. They got some sweet merch too. I'm jealous of their logo. Like we got to get a Fightful logo like that. I want to get something a little bit better. I've got envy. I got envy over Nord right now. NordVPN.com/Fightful. Shot Kid says, looking at the notes and highlights, it feels like ROH's media call was the least promotery Tony Khan had been on in a while. Well, it started off on a very personal note.
Very personal note, yeah.
Will, were you able to be on the call today? I know you had a busy day.
Yes, I was on that call. Didn't get my question asked, but a lot of people didn't. But there also wasn't a whole lot of time.
It was 20 minutes of Tony Khan sharing some details about the William Regal thing. The long and the short of it is, unfortunately, Tony Khan's mother, since All Out, has had 2 strokes. I believe around then, and then early October, around the time they went to Toronto. And William Regal asked for his release. Specifically, he said, I would like if you did not renew the options that you have on my deal so I can go spend time with my son. And one of the conversations they had was William Regal saying, considering the position that you're in right now, can't you relate to me? And Tony Khan was like, yeah, you're right. I can. And obviously he said he's not going to facilitate all of those.
I thought about that, right?
Yeah.
Because immediately my thought goes to the amount of kind of cross-promotional relationships that exist across companies and anybody who'd want to be together. And the fact that there are so many, when you think about Keith Lee and Mia Yim, you think about Zelina Vega and Malachi, like immediately my brain kind of went to that. And so when he said, I obviously can't facilitate all of those, but in this case, I do understand.
Yes.
I fully got that, and that made sense.
And I've got a lot of respect for Tony Khan, just personally, because, the stuff that Malachi said and what I shouldn't have tweeted, albeit accurately tweeted, and it was before I watched his video, Tony Khan called me after that, and he said, I know the mental health of our performers matters to you. That is never a concern with me. I just want to let you know that. And that was while Tony was in the middle of dealing with all this stuff with his family, which I did not know about at that point. So that says an awful lot. And I want to say Tony's not the only one to do that. Like, people from WWE do that too. So it's not like some out of pocket type of thing. I had a lot of people high up in WWE last week that were checking on me after COVID. So, I mean, like, these people are not just like these blank executives without any emotion or any semblance of a real life or anything like that. They by and large, honestly, they're usually pretty kind to us on a personal level. And I hate to hear that.
I tweeted earlier about some stuff going on with me and that it's not great, that I'm not going to get into the details of right now, but one of the people I heard from on that was Tony Khan. And and knowing that this was all while having to tell his own story to the public, and I even noted to him that I said that, that's not an easy thing to do, because that kind of story, that kind of thing is going to be scrutinized by media, and having your privacy on that, as long as you have it, is usually the best thing you can ask for. And so, I'd say a lot of details. I'd say a lot of the narrative kind of changed today, because we got a lot more details. Because one of the big details to come out of it, of course, was the fact that, thanks to David Bixenspan asking about it, the terms of Regal's release.
Great question he had, by the way.
It was a great question. And the terms of Regal's release, of course, gave us the detail that Regal will not be allowed to appear on screen. I think Tony said through next year. And so that actually makes a whole lot of sense. I know that I've seen from a lot of people going, well, you hate non-compete clauses from WWE. How can you support a non-compete clause here? And in this case, this is somebody who is, I think, anybody who asks for their release, and this is just my feeling on it, no matter what side it's on. It's that, I think there have to be some concessions on the side of the person essentially losing out, or the person kind of winning out, right? In the sense of, if you ask for your release and you are granted your release, there have to be some kind of terms for you essentially not fulfilling the entirety of your contract. And so,
which was the case with Malachi as well. From what I had understood, the element of that was you ain't got to show up to work on Wednesdays, but you ain't going to WWE. Like, you can work indies and all that. And that was the conditional aspect that I had always heard of, was that, like, well, you can go do what you want, and you don't have to be here if it's affecting you in this way, but we're not going to let you just waltz onto screen somewhere else, because even though they kind of did through an error, WWE kind of let him do that.
Yeah, they did. But, in Regal's case, I think it actually kind of helps AEW continue to sell this story, right? Like,
yes,
how dumb would it look if MJF takes out Regal on screen, he's taken off in an ambulance, but then he shows up on WWE TV. Meanwhile, AEW TV is still having to book around the idea that MJF did what he did, and Bryan's looking for revenge for that. Like, hey, Regal essentially disappearing from the public eye for a year. That's something you could continue to tell this story around, that MJF, his actions destroyed the Blackpool Combat Club. Like, I can't imagine. I was actually thinking about this all along of, like, what is the Blackpool Combat Club going to do with Regal essentially being on the other side? But if you don't have Regal appearing on screen, if you don't have him appearing on camera, then at least you have time to tell a story with the Blackpool Combat Club, do some kind of breakup angle, whatever you're going to do, without having to worry about what Regal's presence on TV is going to do.
WWE about to push War Games back to December, like January 1st of the next year, just so he can go out and say it. Small Snippets of Life says, wishing you both the best. What are your best guess on what the ROH future broadcast news will be post pay-per-view? I think at worst they're going to have like an ROH show. We did break the news on Fightful Select that they are returning to Orlando next weekend for dark tapings. I think at worst they're going to be like, well, let's do a proof of concept for YouTube. It's something they can very easily produce, especially if they've already got the soundstage and stuff like that. But
that's, by the way, the 8th Universal taping this year.
Yes.
And the only reason I know that is because I'm working on a stat of live events that I'm like halfway through. I know how many live venues AEW's run this year. I'm still calculating out of the 189 venues WWE ran this year, how many of them were for each show. So this is what I do when I have downtime. I work on stats. But anyway.
We like stats here at Fightful. We love them.
That's what we do. There's Mr. Sean Ross stats over here.
Not as much anymore.
I know, not as much. But so as far as what I think they end up doing, Tony Khan was asked about that on the call, and one of the things he said was that he would be addressing that with the media on the post-show scrum on Saturday. And so that tells me that they at least have some kind of idea of what's going to be happening, and will likely get an announcement of what it is at Final Battle, and then coming out of Final Battle, he'll probably answer some questions about it. What that is, I don't know. I don't know. There were some rumors. Alvarez had talked about a few weeks ago, hearing that there was some kind of imminent deal with HBO Max, soon to, I guess, just be Max. And
people in AEW claim that wasn't true to me.
Really?
Like, people that I feel like would know, But I mean, also they could just be lying as well, because they did lie to me about something else, trying to throw me off the scent of one of their own stories. So,
I don't know. Like I said, that's why I gave credit where that one came from.
Sure.
As far as where it gets announced, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be just a standard terrestrial TV deal the way we've what we've seen before. I don't think it's going to be kind of a broadcast TV thing, whatever it ends up being, because I think maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But that's not what I think it is.
Guys, get in your super chats, get in your humper chats. This show completely driven by that. We'll also have a brief post show on Fightful Select. Caden says, Will, you're one of the kindest people I've ever met, and I'm happy to call you a friend. Sean, you're the best at your job. Keep it up, besties. It's great to have Caden at WrestleCade. He did a good job helping us.
Yeah, Wrestle Caden.
Yeah. Would we belt FTR on Wednesday? No, and that, I mean, I hate it because it's like well past when they should have probably been belted. And Tony mentioned that on the call today too. And he was like, man, they've been kind of screwed over by nothing of their own, like just people getting hurt and their schedules.
Talking about the creative of CM Punk and how he had plans for them as a trio, FTR and CM Punk. And we saw that coming out of Double or Nothing. You know, FTR came out after the show. They held CM Punk up on their shoulders, and then they had the 6-person tag match that Wednesday against, who was it, Max Caster and the Ass Boys, I think it was.
Yeah.
And so it was clear that there were some plans right before Punk broke his foot. So I fully believe that that's the case. As far as belting them, it's tough right now because, like, you look at the Acclaimed, there's no reason to stop their momentum right now. They're the number one tag team in the company. They are the top selling act in terms of merch. People are still very much into scissoring daddy ass. I think, especially because you have a pay-per-view to sell this Saturday, my gut feeling is that coming out of that match, we're going to know what FTR is doing this Saturday and who they're defending the titles against. My gut says the Kingdom. But
does your gut say that?
Yes, that's just my gut saying that.
I saw Mike and Maria at WrestleCade. They were very nice. I love those guys.
They're great people.
Jacob says, with TK setting the record straight on Regal's release, you've heard any reactions from AEW and EC3's comments? I mean, some people that were like, oh, there's no way, surely. But, I mean, like, listen, you can say a lot of things about EC3. I've never heard him be in, like, the habit of lying about things like that. Like, that's just... that's never what I've known of him. I'm sure he did have a conversation like that where he was told that. So I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's the control your narrative guy. Did he say some stupid, saucy shit in an interview with me? Yeah, he did. But I've never heard him like be in the habit of lying about things like that. Most people aren't going to have unanimously positive work experiences. So it happens. Jeremy said, have you heard anything about Ibushi coming to AEW? I know Omega wants him there.
Everybody's on this Michael Nakazawa tweet.
I know. And listen, there's a lot I can't really, not that I can't, I won't talk about, but I would be shocked and very, very pleasantly, overwhelmingly surprised if we saw Ibushi wrestling anytime soon, especially consistently. But, that's all I'll say about that, and I hope that is wrong. I very much hope that's wrong. Graham says, will you two ever wrestle? Tag team name. I was actively training before I got COVID, and now I feel horrible, but I've got some physical stuff that I got to take care of completely separate of COVID. But tag team name, Sapsody. There you go.
Oh, I love it.
Do you know who's been doing WWE's theme music? The new themes are much better than the generic ones we got in the Thunderdome era. I believe it's still Def Rebel.
It's still Def Rebel.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you were about to say Def Leppard. It sounds like a bunch of one-armed guys were doing their themes for a while.
I'll say the change, and it's the same change you saw with CFOs. And it's one of those things you have to give time to. CFO's worst themes were the themes where they were suddenly just told, hey, we need a theme tomorrow, right? Yeah. And they just cranked you out some generic shit because that's how things can tend to flow, especially on the main roster. And with Def Rebel, kind of what they were told, my understanding was that they kind of got this blanket like, hey, we are severing some of these deals, and not severing because the deal still exists with CFOs. I believe there's still a right share with CFOs as far as how they're being paid from streaming music and anything that's they sell, right? But it is a case of we need to get out of as many of those as possible. So it was like, okay, please get us this theme, this theme, this theme, this theme, replace this theme, replace Braun Strowman, replace Matt Riddle, replace whatever themes we've got. I can't hear you anymore, Sean.
Sorry. It's still wild to me that after the Jim Johnston thing that they were like, hey, maybe we should just set up these deals in a different way that are more friendly to us.
Well, what's interesting too, though, is that as far as what the change is, though, as far as the themes are concerned, is that when you have time to work on stuff, when you can work directly with the wrestler. Look at Roman Reigns, for example. Roman Reigns said back in September of 2020 that he's working on a theme, he's working on it with Def Rebel, and they're going to do it when the time is right. And they worked on that thing and got it right. They got the chorus, the vocals, all of that stuff on it to make it a theme that people love today. But when it's a theme where on Sunday afternoon they're told, hey, we need a theme for Monday, let's get this on Raw, you're not necessarily going to get it. So it's just a matter of time.
Everybody's Mikey Ruckus, man, like busting it out in his car on the way to the venue, and it's still being good.
Still on his way to the venue. My favorite story he ever told me was being asked to make a theme in the hotel. He made it in the hotel, got it to the arena, and then at the arena they were told, oh, actually this wrestler brought their own music. It's fine.
Yeah.
So
unreal. Corey says, any thoughts on Kylie Ray's tryout with WWE? Still not sure how I feel it should be presented on the NXT or main roster. I just hope she's happy, healthy, willing to do it. She's had runs with Impact and AEW that didn't work well. She has spoken openly about her mental health struggles and all that. I don't think that anyone is exempt from that or overcoming it. And I was pleasantly surprised. I'm just glad that she's getting a look. She obviously, why wouldn't they want a look at her if they feel confident she can do it? KC Navarro, boy, the timing of that feature worked out really, really well. I spoke to him a bunch of times. Killer Cross straight up said, I want him in WWE. I want him there. He's there. You got Vincent and Dutch there. And I like that they're separating these tryouts, Will. Like, you don't have these guys in there with the NIL collegiate kids that don't know how to roll or run ropes. They're in there doing their own private 1 week tryout. That's a very smart thing for them to do.
It's a nice change of pace, too, because one of the things I noticed when we were putting together the nominations for the Fightful Awards was there's a category, Debut of the Year. And one of the things was that WWE hasn't had a whole lot of debuts. There's been a lot of returns in 2022, but for the most part, they haven't brought anybody new into their system in a while that hadn't been there before. It's been at least over a year since somebody was just kind of brought in. So one of the things I would like to see more of is some of those outside names that already have a little bit of recognition behind them brought in again. It's been, that was a staple of the old NXT of seeing such and such sitting in the front row at a takeover and them making their way into WWE and then eventually getting called up to the main roster. And it's been a while since we've seen that. The NXT 2.0 system wasn't really designed around that, but I think you can kind of see them start to get into pulling in names that people are familiar with.
Speaking of FightfulSelect.com and the awards, there will be another topic today. Also, you guys have been asking for a Miro update. I got a Miro update coming for you guys today, so subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. Matt Hennessy says, do you think with how over Sami Zayn is, he's got to be the guy to dethrone Roman at Mania next year? Do you think if WWE go with Cody or Rock, they risk fan backlash similar to Batista? I don't think they risk the backlash. I think a lot of people in WWE still really love Cody Rhodes, and I think as soon as that music hits at the Rumble, a lot of the Sami Zayn talk is going to go down, and people will go, Okay, tag team titles, perhaps.
Yeah, and I think there's still an end goal for Sami Zayn. I think, the story of him dethroning the Usos is just as good, considering he spends more time with the Usos than Roman Reigns on screen. That's a lot of the interaction we've gotten. I think that's just as big of a story for Sami. And no, I don't. There's another thing as far as fan backlash is concerned. Batista in 2014. The difference now, and I think WWE is probably grateful for this, is that you don't hear that. Go watch a show from 2014 or 2015. WWE crowds don't sound like that anymore. WWE crowds don't necessarily have a lot of those rebellious chants, rebellious reactions any longer. A lot of times the reactions are kind of subdued altogether, but for the most part, I think they're pretty satisfied with the fact that AEW stole a lot of those fans.
Yes.
And they're like, keep that sound over there, and we'll figure out how to get this one
Very
louder.
good point. King Bling Blah says, should WWE or AEW run a Super Bowl ad in 2023? I think it's something more that WWE would do, unless AEW anchored down their new deal somehow before that, and Warner Brothers said, all right, let's invest in this. I would love it, but I think it would be a good way to also let people know, hey, if you've went away from WWE for quite a while, we're going to do things differently now. Give us a shot again. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's all about the money. That's really what it's about, and whether or not you want to spend on a Super Bowl ad. Everybody's taking losses on those these days, so you really have to want to spend millions of dollars on something that may not have that kind of a return.
Matt Hennessy says, any news on Roderick Strong? I've asked before. I know he re-signed last year. Don't believe the BS of him being a free agent. I've asked WWE. They haven't told me anything. He's still listed internally on NXT rosters, so haven't heard anything of that as of yet, and I've asked multiple times. Who do you see being the next top female star that is currently in NXT, someone who can be on par with Bianca and the Horsewomen? I think in a different type of, like, not overwhelming in an athletic sense, like we see with Charlotte, Bianca, Rhea, is Roxanne Perez. Like,
That was my answer.
She's the one that seems to connect, Will.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that Roxanne Perez, when you think about just the youthful energy that she exudes, and the fact that she just has such a marketable personality, all of that, I think she's kind of the one.
Bill Himmett, any news on the Fightful Christmas stream, Sean? I don't know if we're doing one this week. In previous years, we were not making money. So for Christmas bonuses, it made an awful lot of sense to do super chat, humper chat driven Christmas streams. It feels a little weird now with us even profiting a little bit to do that. But I'll see what you guys want. If you guys want to do that, we will certainly add to them that way. But I think our bonuses will just be distributed in a discretionary manner. So basically everybody but Kate gets one. Rahav says, hey, SRS, will you make it to AEW's debut in the Bay Area? Would love to say hi in person. I don't plan on it as of yet, but anything is possible. I probably want to limit my travel, especially after getting COVID as bad as I did. I am not keen on getting out there anytime soon, but we'll see. I will be at the Rumble. I'm doing that. So Brent Lautman says, her Honor Club appears to be back. What's up with that? What if the ROH deal, the TV deal, is just on Honor Club? Well, that would be disappointing. I'd rather be on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know. Oof. That, I said back when...
Sort of like waving the flag right there.
Yeah, I said back when NWA Power went to a paid format, I thought that was a disaster waiting to happen. Just thinking about, it'll work out
in the door, man. Got to get people in the door.
It'll work out better than NWA in the sense that at least AEW exists as an option to promote it to people. I always thought that NWA didn't necessarily have any way to introduce it to people, as you say, get them in the door. Oh, I still don't like that idea. I hope that's not it.
Yeah. Somebody says EC3 has lied about everything else. Why wouldn't he lie now? What? Like about what? What have I missed that he has lied about? Like, I just don't. I haven't been paying attention to his beat, but I'm not sure, like, this great history of him just making shit up. Like, maybe I've just completely ignored that beat. But Mr. CJ Lilly says, hey, you guys, I asked Will this Sunday, but Sean, what about rebranding Rampage to ROH, as right now Rampage isn't hitting at all to boost the show? I don't know if that will boost the show. Might hurt the show. But that's a Warner Brothers.
And it's not that easy because, that's not what was sold to Warner Brothers Discovery or Warner Media at the time. You can't just necessarily change the show.
Yeah. When do you guys see Cody Rhodes returning to WWE? Royal Rumble is what I see.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wrestling has more than one royal family.
Exactly. Mr. CJ Lilly says, with Alexa going for Bianca next, do you think Asuka gets a brief feud with Rhea until Becky and Bayley are done? Even bring in a Kana character for Asuka. Well, I've long thought that they should bring in a Kana character. In fact, when I see all the Alexa Bray stuff, I'm like, why not Asuka as well? Like, why not her? If like she can play that, she can do spooky lore bullshit stuff and look way cooler doing it, and probably sell a whole bunch of merch, reinvigorate a lot of interest in her. I think that would be a really nice method. And Mr. CJ Lilly says, of course, my Alexa question, do you think that she turns after she loses to Bianca because of the loss, or Bray, or does she turn before the match? Well, right now it seems like Bray's a babyface, so I don't know how she would turn. She might just adjust her persona. But at this point, they're going really, really heavy-handed into the Alexa Bray-related stuff with the sister Abigail and the things flashing in the background. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think, because you don't necessarily have to align her with Bray. You could align her against Bray.
Sure.
If you want to go back into lore, right? Because you can take it back to WrestleMania and how the last time we saw the two of them together, she bled motor oil, and that cost Bray his match with Randy Orton. Is she going to align with Uncle What's-His-Butt? Like, I think that's a place we could end up with Alexa. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of jumping ahead. This all assumes, of course, that she beats Bayley. I think she will, but we're jumping ahead there, folks.
Yeah. If you're looking to not align with dirty, nasty pubic hair, manscaped.com and the code FIGHTFUL has you covered. Get 20% off and free shipping on all of their great packages. And right now, you want some of those packages for your package, for the package of the one that you love, for the holidays. They have the Platinum Package 4.0, which is a luxury full-body grooming kit. The Performance Package 4.0, that is an all-in-one grooming kit. The Perfect Package 4.0, the groin grooming kit. Plus, you can get things individually, like the Lawnmower 4.0, the Refined Cologne, the Boxers, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. But beyond that, they've got all types of liquid formulations for the restroom, post-shower, getting cleaned up, whether it be body wash, shampoo, cologne, all that good stuff. Manscaped.com and then the code FIGHTFUL gets you a great deal. 20% off plus free shipping. All those sets, all those tools for your tools. The Plow 2.0 face razor, the crop shaver as well. The Body Buffer, which is a silicone body scrubber. The shears, it's your luxury nail kit. Anything to take care of yourself and make yourself look sleeker, look better. Manscaped and the code FIGHTFUL has your back. We're heading down the home stretch, guys. We are going to have a bit of a post show, a very short one on FightfulSelect.com. Grim Spider says, much love to two great guys. Any thoughts on Jade and Naomi? I mean, this Bow Wow angle's got to go somewhere, right? Do they look good together? All due respect to Bow Wow, I think that Naomi and Sasha Banks are both more socially relevant than he is, and I don't think either one of them need him right now. Will, your thoughts?
It depends. Look, I can't knock Bow Wow simply because I grew up in the 106th and Park era, and Bow Wow is Mr. 106th and Park, and I'm pretty sure that this tour he's on, this Millennium Tour, actually doing halfway decently with the aunties. Now, that said, Jade versus Naomi. I think I'd scratch the verses there simply because, based off of what they tweeted last night, it seems that they are very supportive of each other. And that's really what I gathered here. I think they're both smart enough to know that just tweeting this stuff out raises eyebrows and gets people talking about either one of them. I don't necessarily believe that there's any deal in place as far as either of them are concerned, but I think they both knew that, hey, if we're photographed together, if we're holding hands, my God, that's going to get social media going. And it did. Got me going.
Yeah. We've got Justin Robbins says, don't know you guys went live. YouTube never notifies me now. I'm telling you guys, please tweet at Team YouTube and let them know. Gregory Nelson said the same thing. I know, guys, we've been getting screwed ever since the live video shorts tab happened. Nicholas Olson, I've asked about this. He says, what was WWE's contribution on the Teddy Hart doc? So saw Kevin Dunn was an executive producer. I'd imagine they lent some footage, but I've been asking about like what the hell, what's up with that. We got RIP Wrestle Your British Granny says, since the start of the tournament, trios matches have almost always been the lowest rated quarter hours. A couple times they were second lowest. What do you think can be done to keep people from leaving in large numbers when they come on? That I don't know. You have to condition people that trios wrestling is important. And I know that's hard when your top trios go away for 2 or 3 months at a time. Yeah, it's especially this because that really the definitive point of this trio's best of 7 isn't going to happen. Like the title isn't switching back and forth as this goes on. So some people might be conditioned to think, it's not as important. But I thought it was one of those things that they kind of had to test, Will, and I haven't paid that much attention to the viewership numbers.
That's what I'm pulling up right now.
Which I do think it goes well into this question. How concerned are both companies with the loss in viewership for WWE and AEW? What's making people turn off? Thoughts or go to streaming maybe? Well, for WWE, it's Monday Night Football. Like they are at the mercy of football. For AEW, I wish I had an answer, but not having guys like Hangman and Cole and CM Punk and people like that does not help. But as far as the trios aspect of things, Will, do you think there's anything they can do to condition fans to think it's a little more important than it is?
I mean, because I don't necessarily know that the trios thing is 100% true because it wasn't match 2 was not the lowest rated quarter.
Okay.
And it was the lowest rated quarter match 3 was, which was the main event. But also main events haven't been doing well almost across the board.
Sure.
And that is something that I've been finding fascinating. I actually tweeted about that maybe like 2 months ago before there were even trios matches main eventing, where I said that there's this fascinating phenomenon happening where the last quarter is either so the second to last quarter is doing really poorly. Like Raw this week, second to last quarter was I think 1.1 million, and luckily they happened to boost it back up a little bit up to 1.2, but it was a huge loss there. And I wish I knew what was driving things like this. I think that there's a narrative around the trios primarily because it's a lot of people who hate the Bucks and Kenny and want to kind of spin it as oh, look, Cornette's right kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think there's a little more nuance to it than that. And I think it has a lot to do with the structure of the show more than anything else.
As we wrap up, guys, we're going to head over to Fightful Select. Corey says, sending props to both of you, but especially Will today. If Mariah Carey was to appear on a wrestling show, where would you book her? I know you've thought about this.
Oh, yeah. I've booked angles around this. Dethroning Roman.
Okay. It makes sense to me. Crossover star will get you a lot of attention. You'll be on the front page of USA Today. That much I know.
Yes.
So that's what you got. Guys, reminder. Wait, are you doing Day After Dynamite tomorrow or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Andrew Zarian, by the way, is my guest tomorrow on
that.
Day After Dynamite.
Just book Paige Van Zant, that guy. So, yeah, there you go. Not for your show, but for another show. Guys, leave a thumbs up. We are heading over to Fightful Select. I'm going to have a Miro update today. I am working on getting a lot of news out there on Fightful Select. Best $5 in the business. I was told, of course, as if YouTube screwing us wasn't enough, Patreon was messing up some re-up subscriptions. So check that stuff out. We've got anniversary billing in effect. So if you subscribe today, you're billed on the same day every single month. It's no longer the first of the month. Thank you guys so much. Until next time, we're out.
We're out.